Hello, everyone. This is Alexis Hutchinson, and welcome back to the FYE Talks podcast. I have a super awesome guest with me today. I'm going to let him introduce himself, but don't forget to tune in every Tuesday and Thursday at 1 p.m. for another awesome episode. So, can you please introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi there. I'm Clay Matthews. I teach English here at ECTC. I've been with the college for a few years now. I started as a success coach with the FYE program. Um, Before moving here, I lived for several years in East Tennessee, and I taught at a couple of colleges there. I went to graduate school in Oklahoma and Southeast Missouri, and that's where I grew up too in Southeast Missouri. Um, so I've kind of, like to write as long as I can remember, pretty much. Even as a kid, I enjoyed it. Not always the more kind of rigorous kind of school essays or anything, but doing kind of creative writing, poetry, writing in journals, things like that. And so um, once I kind of found some classes in college I could take for that, it really just kind of spiraled into a long process of lots of words and lots of classes, and it's brought me here.
That's fantastic. And so, you've recently published a book, correct?
Yes.
Wonderful. Can you give us a little bit more information about that? Because I think that is just wonderful. It's really cool to meet published authors here in our community.
Okay, sure. Yeah. So the book I recently published, it's a book of poetry. It is my fourth book of poetry. Um, it's it's a manuscript I'd had around for a long time, really, and I was kind of going through some of my documents and other things a couple of years ago, and I realized I hadn't been as diligent sending things out for submissions as I should have been, and so I sent that out to a contest with Main Street Rag Books, um, which is in North Carolina, and I didn't win the contest, but it was a finalist for the contest, and so the editor said he'd like to go ahead and publish it, and so we put it together pretty quickly, really, as far as books go, and it came out in November, and so it's an interesting book. It has a lot of kind of road metaphors in it, and it's uh, it's interesting to me because a lot of the poems are almost 10 years old at this point, and so sometimes it feels like I'm reading somebody else's book when I go back through it too.
Well, that's really neat. And so, with that process, when did you publish your first book? And then, what kind of led you to want to do that?
Well, it's my first book I published or got accepted for publication the last year I was in graduate school. So for my dissertation, I actually did, instead of writing an exclusively research based dissertation, I kind of did a half and half thing. So I had part of it that was a creative dissertation, and that was actually the collection of poetry. And then I had to do a critical introduction where I had to bring in more research and things for that. And so the manuscript I had written over the course of several years living in Oklahoma, um, and I had sent it out to a lot of different places, and it can be difficult to get a book of poetry placed because there's so many really good poets out there, and so there's a lot of kind of competition for the publishers, and just depending on what they're looking for. But that first book, Superfecta, was the name of it, which is a horse bet, and it got picked up by a now defunct press, Ghost Road Press, which was out in Colorado at the time.
Sweet. And so, that's really, really interesting. And so, did you find that when you went into college, because I'm sure this resonates with a lot of our students, they kind of come to ECTC, they're not 100% sure what they want to do, but they know what they're passionate about. So did you find that attending college kind of helped you refine your vision of what you wanted your career to be, kind of more focused on, writing and creative writing and things like that? Or were you set out on that path from the beginning? You knew that that's what you wanted to do?
It was probably a little bit of both for me. I knew I kind of wanted to do that. I was interested, in language and words and writing and those things. Um, but I wasn't really kind of sure what I wanted to do. I'd thought about like all kinds of different things, even like being a lawyer or kind of, I didn't really have any idea what any job really entailed at that point, and um, so part of it was kind of following interests and then just kind of finding the classes where I really felt like I fit in those classes. Um, I was fortunate, as an undergraduate to have a couple different teachers over my years there, just kind of pull me aside or give me some really direct encouragement to keep writing or to kind of pursue an English degree. And so I felt fortunate to be on the other side here too sometimes, and to be able to kind of talk to students about writing and things they can do with that. And um, you know a lot of people think there's not much to do with an English degree, but there's really quite a bit. And um, so I was kind of lucky to have some teachers who took me under their wing and kind of told me like, these are some of the options. This is what you can do at graduate school. These are some career opportunities for this. And so, I had an interest for it already, but um, I was definitely not dead set on anything at that point. So the experience of the classes, especially, and then kind of finding some other writers on campus, and we had little groups. We would get together once a week, meet up, and kind of read each other's stuff and talk about it outside of class too. And so those things really instilled a real appreciation for writing and a community of writers for me, and created a desire to stay connected to that in some sort of way, for the rest of my life. And so that kind of led me to the next steps.
Wonderful. And so if students are thinking, I kind of want to pursue a degree in writing, excuse me, English, they're thinking about it, they're batting around their career options and things like that. What bit of guidance would you offer them to either hone down on a career choice or to pursue that degree in English and maybe go on to get a graduate degree? Would you have any kind of words of wisdom to give to those students?
Well, one of the things that I would tell a lot of students, kind of especially students that I used to work with, that were kind of juniors and seniors, kind of thinking about their English degree and what they were going to do with it, is that there's for a lot of, especially the liberal arts degrees and things, where you're doing a lot of critical thinking and you're doing a lot of communication, and you're working to understand different rhetorical situations, that sets you up for a whole variety of careers. um, and the majority of students, I can't remember the actual percentage off the top of my head right now, but when they leave college, their first jobs that they get, and sometimes the careers they pursue, don't always align even very closely with their majors. The workplace, even though it's this thing that we kind of look towards, and we have a lot of anxiety about it in careers and everything else, is populated by lots and lots of jobs that didn't exist 5 years prior. So sometimes it can be kind of hard to kind of plan for a really straightforward career, and then be on the other side of that, the your degree plan, and the sort of demands of that career have shifted, or that career is gone in some cases. And so something like an English degree, or something, any really undergraduate degree, one of the things that it gives you, is a sort of well-rounded background. And our associate's degrees do that as well. They kind of they offer a chance to kind of explore lots of different classes. Even in the applied sciences, when you're taking like a writing one class, that writing one class is going to help you in lots and lots of different jobs. And so for students thinking about writing or English or art or psychology um, or some of those majors where they might have heard, like you're not going to find a job in that major. One of the things I would caution them against kind of seeing is that like all jobs are specifically tied to majors. And so if instead you can think about like the skill sets you're learning within a major and how those might apply to lots and lots of different careers, sometimes by majoring in something like English, you actually open up more options than if you major in something that's a little bit more specialized. And so those are some things to think about, and then there's options for graduate school and other things too, and teaching, but those aren't the only options for an English major at all.
Wonderful. And you can always ask, your FYE instructor or your other instructors kind of their opinions. I'm sure that they would give plenty of advice about here's potential careers that you may not even have thought of.
Yeah, absolutely. And the kind of unique opportunity in the FYE class and with the FYE program to explore some of those things. Yeah, I've always thought that's one of the best things about college is it offers a little bit um, of sort of a safe space, so to speak, outside of the world, even though it's still within the world, but to think about some of those things, like what do I want to do with my life? What do I want to do for a job? What do I want to kind of do, and where do I want to grow intellectually? Those are some of the questions you get to think about, and the FYE class and program are a really good place to start to build on some of those questions.
Absolutely. And so, if students are looking to get more involved on campus, are there any writer groups, or is there a way that they could start a writers group? Anyone that they could
There
see
are
to get more
there's
connected?
Yeah, so there's the Creative Writing Club, and Mick Kennedy is he runs that, and they're kind of connected to lots of different things. One of the unique things that we have on our campus, that Mick runs, and several other people work on. Amy Fox Anger is the managing editor right now, I think, and is the Heartland Review, and that's a well-known literary journal. And so if you get involved in something like that, you get the chance to see how some writers out there in the world are working. You get to see their submissions come in. You get to see kind of some of the work that goes into editing, a journal, which is more like a book in some ways, and using some of the editing software. But then also the Creative Writing Club they do some open mics where you get the opportunity to read your work, especially more so, once we're able to gather back together. They bring readers in to do readings. So they do a whole lot of stuff. And I believe they have a Facebook page or at least I think the Heartland Review does. They might both have a Facebook page though. So that's a really great place to get connected if you're a writer kind of looking to find a community on campus that's already out there.
Awesome. And so, are you familiar with any maybe groups in the community or anything happening around Elizabethtown that they could be involved
Yeah, there's also I know at the Hardin County Library, they had a writers group that met, I think, once a week. I don't. Some of those things are on pause now, I think, and so. But the library, both our library and the Hardin County Library do some things connected to reading. In in Louisville, there's some other opportunities also for things. There's a few different writers festivals, um, some through different universities. There's the there's one that's hosted, I know, at Spalding that usually brings in a pretty big name for their kind of keynote, and then we have the book festival on campus that will bring back where you can kind of go around and see lots of authors with their books and buy their books and talk to them. Um, and then kind of outside of that in the area, there's festivals in Lexington and Bowling Green. In Nashville, every October they have the Southern Festival of Books, which is one of the bigger kind of like regional book fair conference things. So there's usually some pretty big writers there, and those are places to kind of to branch out as you're able. To kind of get there or look into those. And for anybody that has questions about some of those things or is having trouble finding info for that, you can email me too, and I'm happy to kind of get you in contact with any of those things that I know about. And it's in your Outlook, it'll be Clay Matthews at Elizabethtown, C Matthews with two T's 0052 at kctcs.edu.
Wonderful. And so hopefully our students will take advantage of all these great resources and definitely check out the Creative Writing Club if you have a passion or an interest for poetry, creative writing, and all varieties. I'm sure they do short fiction and all kinds of different things. Definitely get in contact with Dr. Matthews and let him kind of get you into those groups so that you can pursue your passions here. Thank you so much, Clay, for speaking with us today, and I really appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, thank you, Alexis, for having me. And one more plug for creative writing too. There's some creative writing classes that students can take as electives and as part of their degree plans. Some of them will count for their humanities class, and then there's some that will count for electives and other things. And so that's a really good opportunity to find a group on campus too within a classroom setting as well.
Absolutely. So don't forget to mention that to your academic advisors once priority registration opens up. Also, don't forget to check us out on the FYE Talks podcast again every Tuesday and Thursday at 1 p.m. Thank you so much, Clay, and let's hope everyone has a great day.
Thank you. You too.